Hello everyone, welcome to Big Data Thoughts. Today we are going to discuss about Azure Active Directory or Azure AD. We will talk about why is an Active Directory or an identity access management system needed, what were the challenges before something like this existed, what are the advantages of using a Active Directory or an Active Directory over cloud. So let's get started. So first of all, what is Azure AD or Azure Active Directory? So it is a SaaS offering on Azure Cloud, and it is meant a cloud-based identity access management service. Couple of years back or many years back, when Windows 2000 was introduced, Microsoft introduced Active Directory domain services along with Windows 2000. And this was meant for giving all the organizations an ability to manage multiple on-prem infrastructures. That time cloud was not that prevalent as it is today, so it was purely meant for on-prem infrastructure, and it helped in maintaining a single identity per user. But that Active Directory has now evolved, or that whole concept has gone to a next level where it is now offered as a SaaS offering over Azure Cloud, and it is also known as Identity as a Service. The purpose is the same, to use it as an identity and access management service for both on-cloud and on-prem infrastructures. So let's look at who uses Azure AD or where all is Azure AD used. So if we look at applications that we are using today like Skype, OneDrive, Outlook, all of them are using AD because we are creating a login, we are having a username and password through which we are using them personally at a personal level. Internally, all of these applications are using an Active Directory to authenticate users. If we look at organizations, today we are using Office 365, Teams, OneDrive for Business, Power BI, SharePoint. All of them are also using Azure AD or Active Directory in the background. Similarly, if you look at Azure Cloud, the subscriptions, the resource groups, the VMs, or any kind of service on cloud has to authenticate, and they are using Azure Active Directory. It can also be used for custom web applications or web services that we are building. If we have to use authentication and access management mechanism, Azure AD can be used. Now there are certain concepts that we need to understand, and one of them is like understanding what were the challenges before something like this existed. So first of all, let us understand what is an identity, because we are saying that Azure AD is an identity and access management service or a tool. What does identity mean? Identity means anything that is getting authenticated. It can be a user, it can be a service, it can be an application. Services may be talking to each other, applications may be talking, user may be accessing an application, or we want to authenticate a user to access any kind of a service or application. So any of these cases we are using a AD or an identity. Let's talk about identity. We are using an identity or a user. That identity can be either a user where we have a username and password to authenticate, or it can be a service or app that can use certificates or secret keys to authenticate. Both of these things are identities. So let us look at how it works usually, what happens and what are the challenges with that. So first of all, any application, let's think about it that there is a client and there is a server. So somebody is requesting some resource from the server. So what will happen? Previously, before there was any identity and access management system, the clients used to access server. Let's say there is a user or a service which wants to authenticate. There will be a password, username and password. Those were all getting stored in a single database, and from there authentication was happening. Now there are multiple challenges. First of all, it is a maintenance overhead, because if we have multiple services, applications for which we want to do authentication, we have to maintain multiple sets of username and passwords in a database. So it's a security risk. It is storing multiple user credentials per application, and it is of course a maintenance nightmare. So this kind of a solution of having a database to store username and password was not good or was not efficient and scalable. So what was done to overcome this challenge is to have an identity provider. What will identity provider do? Here also, let's say we have a client and a server, but what we are introducing one more thing in between is a identity provider. In this case, let's say it is Azure Active Directory. So what will happen is, first of all, the client will access Azure AD using some credential. Azure AD returns a token back. Now, there is no database here that we are using explicitly to store username and password, but we just at the client we are just storing a credential to connect to AD. AD returns a token. That token is sent to the server, just to say that yes, I am authentic client who is trying to access the server. The server then goes and talks to the AD, because server and AD has a trusted relationship built between them. So server talks to AD and back, and that is when the server actually provides the resource back as a result to the client. So all of this is happening in 7 steps, but this is very secure, easy to maintain and scalable. Reason being, we don't have a database storing username password for multiple applications and services. We have a centralized user management which is getting managed by Azure Active Directory. It is token based. The same token can be used for multiple services because the token is for a client. We don't have to store separate username password for each service. Of course, it is easier to maintain. It provides single sign-on because for a particular client, I'm using the same credentials to connect to AD and token to authenticate. On the client side, we have a single set of credentials to connect to AD, and server just has to build a trusted relationship with AD. This security is very robust. Firstly, it is centralized, easy to maintain. Secondly, it is robust because it has multi-factor authentication and many other things inbuilt in the AD to manage that access management. So this is the whole benefit of having an identity provider. Now that identity provider can be anything. On different clouds you have different identity services. For Azure it is Azure Active Directory. One of them authentication is Azure Active Directory. Now who uses it? So it is important for application developers as well as administrators to understand how Azure AD works, what are the features, because both of them would be using it. What are the integration capabilities of Azure AD? So if you see, the centerpiece is Azure AD. This is Azure AD domain services which was earlier existing, and now we have Azure AD. The AD domain services are now scaled up, or they have enhanced it to be on the cloud. Now it can integrate both with on-prem as well as on cloud, and there are 3 flavors if we see, right, in the integration capability. We have SaaS, we have PaaS, and we have IaaS. So any kind of dynamic CRM application, Microsoft Intune, Microsoft 365 can use AD for identity access management. Azure PaaS, our own applications, our mobile apps can use AD. On the IaaS side, the virtual machines, the line of business apps, all of them can use Azure AD. So it can work seamlessly for both on-prem and cloud. Now just some information about what are the different editions that Azure AD has. So we have 4 different editions: a free edition, Office 365, Premium P1 and Premium P2. This differs in pricing and it also differs in the kind of functionality that it provides. So there are some certain nuances, but in a nutshell, Azure AD is a way to do identity and access management. Identity can be either a user or a service and an app. And this service helps to make your life really easy in terms of doing identity and access management. You don't have to really worry about the security of your credentials itself. It helps you in a single sign-on also. So this is all about Azure Active Directory, the whole background, history, what are the challenges that were there and what are the advantages. I hope this video gives you a good overview of what Azure AD is. So please like, share and subscribe to the channel to get more insights into different videos that I keep posting. Thank you so much.